and welcome. Today our guest is Tom Sightings, a baby boomer who worked for several media companies and then was forced into early retirement when he was laid off in his mid-50s. He writes about retirement for U.S. News and World Report and writes about his experiences in his book, You Only Retire Once, as well as his blog, Sightings Over 60. Tom, let's start off by going over your advice on preparing for retirement.
People have to save for retirement and kind of plan out their investments and their money. And they probably want to know where they're going to live. Are they going to retire to Florida or Arizona, or are they going to stay put, move to a smaller condo or something like that? They probably know that. I ask people, what are you going to do when you retire? And a lot of people don't have an answer for that. So that's why I think it's important to make some kind of plan ahead of retirement about what you're going to actually be doing from day to day and week to week.
Okay, you mentioned deciding on where to retire. What's your advice on that?
When you're working, in my case, I worked for 40 years, you're always doing what other people tell you to do. I mean, you have a boss, right? And your priorities are set by your workplace. When you get up in the morning, when you go to work, when you have vacation even lots of times is set by somebody else. Here's your opportunity to kind of run your own life, to set your own priorities. And if you don't, then things will happen by default. How do you do it? Well, think of what interests you. Think back 20, 30 years ago when you were in your 20s, and what was your passion back then? What did you want to do back then that you weren't able to do because now you've been working for all this time? Or have you developed some new interest over the years? All those things are kind of cues to what might provide some direction for you in retirement.
So what do you think about lists that rank the best places to retire?
They're always fun to consult, and they can give you some ideas, mostly on the cost of living, which can be pretty important for retirees. I mean, it's tough to retire in New Jersey or New York or California, let's face it. But beyond that, everything is so individualized and so personal. You know, I've seen lists where I think I saw recently South Dakota was the number one state to retire in. Well, that's great if you like cold weather, but I don't. But as far as, cost of living, I think that is something definitely for people to consider, because you can retire to California if you like the West Coast, and that's real expensive, or you can retire to Oregon, which is not nearly so expensive.
Tom, you say retirement is a journey, not a destination. What do you mean by that?
You can plan all you want, but things change. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't plan, because that gives you the framework. But I think periodically, even before you retired and certainly after you retired, you just need to ask yourself, certain questions about your life and what has changed. You can ask yourself, like, am I on track? Am I doing what I said I wanted to do, or is something getting in the way? Maybe you wanted to retire to Florida to go fishing, but here you are sitting in, Connecticut, freezing your butt off. What happened? What went wrong, or what's stopping you? And to kind of look at that in a determined way and say, okay, is that important or not? Am I just letting things slide?
Now let's talk about your book, You Only Retire Once. What does it cover, and how is it different from all the other books on retirement out there?
I think it's a little more comprehensive than a lot of the retirement books out there you see are pretty thin, I would say, or they focus on only one thing. And I kind of try to cover the major issues that you're interested in retirement. And I do it from a personal point of view, so I hope my own kind of weird personality comes through a little bit as you read this, and hopefully you get a laugh out of it too.
Where can people get a hold of your book if they're interested and find out more about you?
Well, you can tell people to go to my website, which is Sightings Over 60, where I cover all retirement kind of subjects and other like baby boomer kind of issues. And they're kind of the same because, after all, baby boomers are retirees now. It covers, all the things that hopefully retired people are interested in, from, finance to grandchildren to travel and a lot of other things.
Thanks for your time today, Tom, and thank you for watching Retirement News Today.
Brought to you by the Miller Group.